United Nations says to Nigerians, build farm clusters, backyard farms to feed self. Money supply up 16% on foreign exchange reforms, says the Central Bank of Nigeria. Plus, oil prices open lower on dollar strength. Profit taken. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. It's good to have you here at this time. It is that time we talk business as we bring you up to speed with happenings around the world. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has continued consultations with key players on how to get the economy on sound footing. In this regard, the president and his vice, Kashim Shettima, met with the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, and some governors, including those of Imo, Kwara, Lagos, and Ogun. Former Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State was also part of the meeting. Presidential Advisor on Special Duties, Communications and Strategy, Dele Alake, says the meeting also looked at how to finalize arrangements on the distribution of palliatives to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal. The presidency had earlier proposed the distribution of grains and fertilizers to farmers, also as part of measures to boost food security in the country. Meanwhile, the immediate past member representing Kazauri Roni Giwa and Yankwashi constituency of Jigawa State, Mohammed Kazauri Gudaji, has appealed to the present administration to fast-track the implementation of the various palliatives aimed at cushioning the effects of the subsidy removal on the citizens, as well as get local refineries working. This was as the former member was seen lamenting the amount he is using to fill his fuel tank, but appealed for calm.
No, I'm surprised. Sometimes I normally buy 43,000 to full my tank. But look at now, I came with spoil in my car and I'm still taking almost, they're charging me almost 52,000 naira. So which I surprised. So the common man, how can a common man survive in this situation? Somebody with a price of with a salary of 50,000 naira, how is he going to work in a month to feed his family, pay school fees to his children? This is a terrible situation. That is why I told you I will try my best, and I'm sure Mr. President is not happy with this situation. I'm sure he's not happy, and I'm sure he will try to settle this issue. Just we are calling the attention of the people to be calm and pray for the government and wish the government to do good.
And now the federal government has been paying keen attention to the non-oil sector, which has largely impacted Nigeria's revenue base and foreign exchange earnings. And this includes the outsourcing industry, which seems to generate more than 2/3 of the global gross domestic product. Tope Alabi reports that the Nigerian Export Promotion Council has developed a national services sector export strategy towards harnessing the potential in the sector.
These sectors are a major part of the global economy, generating more than 2/3 of the global gross domestic product, GDP, attracting over 3/4 of foreign direct investment in advanced economies and employing the most workers and creating new jobs globally. Aware of the enormous economic potentials inherent in the services sector, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council is engaging stakeholders at a trading services conference to tap from the outsourcing industry towards driving the economy and boosting human capital. Executive Director NEPC, Dr. Ezra Yakusak, says Nigeria will benefit from, among other opportunities, in advertising, career, customer support services, and logistics.
The realization of the pivotal role of services sector in the diversification of Nigerian export base, foreign exchange generation, and creation of employment and incomes motivated the NEPC to carve out this trade in services unit in 2006 as the sole unit responsible for issues of international trade in services. In pursuance to this, the Council came up with the initiative to identify and highlight the potential of exportable services in the sector that could be packaged and marketed regionally and internationally.
The Ministry of Trade and Investment notes that Nigeria, with its demographic endowment, stands a better chance than the likes of South Africa, Kenya, Egypt, Ghana, and Mauritius to attract outsourcing investment from developed economies while growing steadily to bring more fortunes to Nigeria.
As the world becomes increasingly interconnected, outsourcing has become a key strategy for businesses to remain competitive. But what does it mean for the Nigerian economy? How has it influenced job creation, local industries, and overall economic growth? Joining us in the studio to shed more light on the dynamics of outsourcing in Nigeria's economic landscape is Dr. Obiora Madu. He is the Chairman, Governing Council, Institute of Soft Skills and Vocational Development of Nigeria. Doctor, you're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much.
Okay, to start things, could you briefly just explain to us what outsourcing entails, its significance in today's globalized world? Before now, we hear about franchise here, we hear about exports of services, and now we're talking about outsourcing. Can you let us into this?
Thank you very much. Outsourcing is simply a situation where an organization, let's use NTA as an example now, decide that we're a broadcasting company, we are not a transport company. Therefore, we outsource transportation. Every form of vehicle that NTA is using will be outsourced to a third party. This is what the organization hitherto does. But the fact is that competition in the industry makes it imperative that you try to reduce costs. So that is it. Where a company or an organization takes a function that it has been doing and hands it over to a third party to perform for him, like transportation, like even personnel. When you go to the bank, some of the tellers you talk to and the rest of them are really not staff of the bank. They are staff of an outsourcing company who supplies those staff to the company. Now, initially, the whole idea was to reduce costs, but today it has gone beyond cost reduction.
Sorry to hold your thoughts here. I was actually to ask, I say, if I am going to do that as a businessman, it means me spending more money. But at the same time, it also means efficiency in service delivery. How do we manage this? And how has this helped grow the economy in terms of job creation and employment?
Okay, mostly you actually don't spend more money. You spend less money, but you get better service. Because when you are dealing with customers, the service delivery, there are equipment, there are technology, there are other things that will be heavy for you to acquire at that moment. But someone has it, he brings it in. So the cash flow, your cash flow is maintained at that very point in time. But even though today, some people are paying higher, spending higher to get outsourced service, as long as it gives them competitive advantage in the market. So it is no longer a matter of cost reduction, but the fact is that outsourcing helps service delivery, helps your cash flow, and also reduce cost of running the organization.
Okay, effective service delivery and efficiency is actually key for the growth of any enterprise or even government agencies. And now, let's talk about knowledge transfer and skills development amid all of this interchange between you, the organization, and your third party outsourcing to.
Well, the fact is that knowledge transfer, usually when a company is outsourcing, the company normally will have a department for that very issue, which means some people have to be reassigned to somewhere. But of course, there must be a point person, like the person who manages that very particular third party. And one thing that is key to an outsourced service is, an agreement which defines the quality of service that the service provider must provide. So in terms of knowledge transfer, of course, within the period, whenever the company, and it can be in the SLA, that you are working for us for a period of 2 years, but in a period of 1.5 years, we will bring in some staff who will understudy you, if that is the case. But really, company do not bother, because most of the time, outsourcing relationships last quite a long time. And then within the period, you make enough gains to decide. But today, any company that thinks it wants to own all its assets, perform all the service on its own, is on the way out.
Okay, let's talk about local content, local capacity. How would you assess the outsourcing industry in Nigeria? Would you say it's growing? How successful has it been?
Outsourcing is not supposed to be growing the way it should in Nigeria. I tell you, we have a lot of advantage, over the people who are leading, people like India, Philippines, and the rest of them. We have we are +1 GMT, we are English speaking, we have a large population of youths, we have everything going for us. But the fact is that you, first of all, have to be identified as a service destination, as an outsourcing destination. Then the environment has to be right, the infrastructure has to be right. Right now, in terms of broadband and the rest of them, we are doing better than a lot of African countries. But another thing in outsourcing also is the service provider, the people, the quality of the people we are turning out from the universities are also an issue. It's an issue. Someone staying in a hotel and calling a reception, and the receptionist is asking the person, what is your problem? So our attitude to service is and what causes it is the soft skills. Soft skills are not taught in schools in Nigeria. So when people come out of universities, you still have to work on them again to be able to get them to be ready for workplace.
Well, talking about the services sector in its entirety, it is a sector that contributes to the GDP of any country. And talking about Nigeria being the largest economy in Africa, we're talking about a continental market, that Nigeria should take a larger market share. How ready are we to take advantage of our size to ensure that we export our services in this continental market? Are we ready for it? If we are not, what do we need to? If we are, what more do we need to do?
First of all, services constitute over 50% of Nigerians' GDP. That's services. But then what quantity of that service is being exported? Less than 10%. So you can see that we have a lot of room for that. But we also have to get ready. One thing that happens in services is that you look for the area of your area of strength. I'll give you an example with Kenya. They say, where are we strong? They say they are strong in voice. Voice means having call centers and the rest of them. And what did they do? What they did was to concentrate in the voice area and then provide everything that is needed and the environment. And that for about 4 or 5 years, Ken Call, which is a call center in Kenya, won best call center in Europe for quite some time. So we have everything. We have the youth, we have the technology, we have everything. The fact is that a lot of people don't even understand what outsourcing means. If outsourcing steps into the public sector, you will get better service delivery. So we are not really, there's domestic outsourcing, then there's of course offshoring. But at the moment, even the domestic outsourcing is, in fact, we have not started scratching it, short of exhausting it. Then of course, the environment at home must be right before individuals outside will start outsourcing something to Nigeria, which is where the money is actually. But the fact is that there are exceptions. People like Outsource Global is in Abuja here. She has 1,500 staff. All these 1,500 staff are working for foreign companies. They don't work for Nigerian companies. Japan, Europe.
And these are indigenous companies.
Purely indigenous.
Okay, now charity. They say charity begins at home. I'm talking about the strengthening the domestic base. Do we need policies? Do we need strategies? So it's just about enlightenment to ensure that we get our acts right. Yet you said from the universities or from tertiary institutions there are some lapses. Are you saying we should have a curricular review? If we don't need that, as specialists, as experts, is there a professional way to go about it so that we get the act right?
Yes, there is. First of all, awareness needs to be created so that we can have good policies. As I speak to you, the legal side of outsourcing, nothing has been. We don't have a bill. We don't have a law. In fact, we don't have a law about it. So from the policy side, I mean, the agencies, the relevant agencies need to do something about it. Then as to the quality of the people who are turning out from the universities, the institute have decided to partner with some universities, come into the university, plug into the final year students for like 5 Saturdays, take them through some certifications, customer care, back office operations, virtual executive assistant, and the rest of them. And I can tell you, they pass that certification. The moment they get their degree, what they have done is that they have differentiated themselves from the rest of the people. And then also, Wipro, one of the biggest outsourcing company, they spoke to me. They wanted to come to Nigeria. One of the things they talked about is the skills. The skills. So in 2012, I was doing a project for World Bank, and that was building soft skills into people who came out from universities, youth corpers, final year students, and the rest of them. Because a baseline study had shown that we are in deficit. We are in huge deficit of soft skills. So after training them, we put them through certifications, and a lot of them are flying. And
so in other words, Dr. Obiora, in other words, you are saying it's not about lack of employment, but lack of employable skills is actually another problem that Nigerian youth face from day to day, and the outsourcing business is actually a gold mine to be tapped into. This is a conversation we're going to continue moving forward. Thank you so very much for sharing your thoughts with us at this particular point in time. That is Dr. Obiora Madu.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
And moving on, United Nations is encouraging all Nigerians to rise up to the new project, Operation Feed Yourself, by joining farm estates, farming clusters, and backyard farming. Adebola Brooksland Sunday reports that this was the position of the United Nations at the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning as they partner with other key players at a pre-food system stock-taking moment media engagement in Abuja.
Of the world not achieving the sustainable development goal of zero hunger if urgent steps are not taken, necessitated the United Nations call on all countries to come up with modalities to improve food systems, a call Nigeria swiftly keyed into. Permanent Secretary, Budget and National Planning, Nebulisa Neko, and other key players at this stock-taking moments media engagement affirmed that the declaration of state of emergency on food security by President Bola Tinubu underscores government's commitment to feed the nation.
Nations, communities, and households are food secured when everyone has access to healthy diet at all times and at a price that is affordable and according to their preferences for a productive life.
if you plant at the back of your house, in front of your house, and I plant at the back of my house and in front of my house, we'll discover that it is difficult for us to complain of not having something to eat.
For development partners, food security cannot be achieved without collaboration.
We have a really chance to work together for more progress, but it really has to be about action, about delivery.
We focus more on the rural smallholder farmers because we believe these are the persons feeding the entire population.
Dry season farming through micro and macro irrigation is being encouraged to meet the set targets where no one goes to bed hungry. Adebola, Brooks Lane Sunday.
And oil prices were a little changed on Thursday as a lower than expected drop in the U.S. crude inventories and a potentially weaker demand outlook kept investors cautious. Brent futures dipped 14 cents to $79.32 a barrel in early trade, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell 15 cents to $75.20 a barrel. And still on commodities, gold prices climbed on Thursday to a near 9-week peak amid a weaker dollar and bet that the U.S. Federal Reserve might soon pause its interest rate hiking cycle. Let's see how other commodities are trading this morning. And the Nigerian equities market closed midweek session negative as investors lose 5.17 billion naira. The all-share index shed 0.01% to end the session at 63,757.23 basis points. A sum of 473 million securities worth 10 billion naira were traded in 7,403 deals. Market capitalization fell to 34.7 trillion naira. Jopol Gold, FCMB, and Starling Financial Holdings Company PLC were the most traded stocks at the end of this session. And still talking markets, let's join Boserable for the global outlook.
European markets were muted on Thursday morning as investors assessed the implications of some big U.S. corporate results and the start of earnings season at home. Asia markets were mixed on Thursday as investors digested a slew of economic data across the region. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index climbed after 2 straight days of losses, climbing marginally. Mainland Chinese markets all lower, with the Shanghai Composite down 0.92% and Japan's Nikkei 225 also down 1.23%. Nasdaq 100 futures in the U.S. slipped Wednesday evening after Netflix posted its latest quarterly results. Nasdaq 100 futures dipped 0.67% and S&P 500 slipped 0.17%, while Dow futures hovered just below the flat line. Africa market resumed mostly positive. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Tunisia's Tunidex are positive, while Namibia is negative. Bosede Ebo, Business Express.
Thank you, Bosede. And on that note, we end the edition of Business Express for today. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. Business Express returns tomorrow, Friday at 3 p.m. Keep a date with us.
Information is power.